there, and Jill Anna. Welcome to You've Got a Thing, an interview thing about Milwaukee theater things. With me today is our co-creator, so we're a little partial to the person here today.
It's been a while since we've talked together.
It's been a hot second, yeah. But that's because we're busy and we make the art and all of those things. But you're also the artistic director of Milwaukee Opera Theatre, which is what you're here to talk about today because it's happy opening.
Thank
you.
It is yet another one of the delayed for 2 years plus some months opening nights that we're experiencing right now, which is wild. I mean, you know, my friends around the country that are all posting about their shows, and it's like, oh, everyone has these pieces that have just been like in dormancy for years.
Well, we tried to do that, and then it just didn't work out. So we had to just go, okay, well, I guess we're just going to do 2 wholly different shows. So we're just going to do that thing.
But that part I think is universal, that everyone had to go through that conversation. Whether or not they decided to do the show that they had to put on ice, or whether or not they decided to, you know, remap their season, or both, a little bit of both.
Right. Yeah. So let's just get right into it. And why don't you talk to me about this piece, what it's called, and why, and all the things.
I'd be happy to tell you a little bit about it. So we were just about to move into the venue, which is the Women's Club of Wisconsin on Kilbourne Avenue, a historic building in Milwaukee. That's pretty cool to be in.
Yes, just beautiful. I've actually never been there, but it looks beautiful.
It's so much fun just to spend time there, and the cast has had such a good time peeking around corners and taking pictures of treasures that we find. We were about to move into the venue for tech when the pandemic descended upon us, and so we did a really quick call emergency friends to come videotape the very last room run, so that at whatever period of time, maybe in the future, 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years, you know, that we might be able to remember where we were at, you know, when we stopped. And so because the piece is very, very demanding, and so are many pieces, but this one is unique. It's written by Dave Molloy, who wrote Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812.
Yeah.
And it is about Sergei Rachmaninoff and 3 years of writer's block that he experienced between the truly disastrous premiere of his first symphony as a young composer and the magnificent premiere of his second piano concerto, which is one of his best known pieces. So he was in a very deep depression for 3 years and did not write or perform at all for that period of time. And Molloy was interested in the fact that Rachmaninoff visited a hypnotherapist named Nikolai Dahl and went to therapy multiple times over 3 months, almost daily, and ended up dedicating the second piano concerto to Dahl. And so this musical kind of riffs freely on what some of that hypnotherapy might have been like. And we cross paths with iconic Russian cultural titans like Tolstoy and Chekhov and Tchaikovsky, as Rachmaninoff is remembering his influences that he grew up with, or also he met Tchaikovsky was an important teacher. He had a couple meetings with Tolstoy that didn't go according to plan. And those are shared as part of this fantasia, the musical. It's not called a musical, it's called a fantasia by the creator.
I love that so much.
Yeah, it makes sense when you see it. But then Dave is also bringing it to our time, which is one of the things that really attracted us to the piece. Because I think at Milwaukee Opera Theatre, we're always asking ourselves, what is the point of making art, and what is the point of using heritage repertoire, right? Or the repertoire that we learn when we study classical music, and what's that all about? What does it have to say to us today? And so this piece was particularly engaging because Molloy is like, the character of Nikolai Dahl also resembles a contemporary therapist, or there are many things that bleed back and forth from our time and maybe Dave's own experiences as a creator, and fame, his experiences with fame and ambition and failure, and Rachmaninoff's experiences 122 years ago with fame, ambition, and failure.
Okay.
So here's another important part I should share. It is chock full of music for an hour and 45 minutes, like packed with music. And every Dave Molloy song that is in the piece is inspired by some lick of something that Rachmaninoff wrote. But it's very Dave in its expression.
Okay.
There's a grand piano center stage that is played by Ruben Perenin, who is playing the character of Rachmaninoff. And then Joe Piketty plays the character of Rach, the talking Rachmaninoff. And
Okay.
they're kind of split into, and then the rest of the orchestration is two synthesizers. And in this tech week, I realized one of the things that's been really kind of astonishing to me is how much fun it has been to hear synthesizers actually playing synthesizer parts and not just like a reduced orchestra part. Like they're not just trying to fill in the 10 violins that got cut, but they're playing reverse piano sounds where like the initiation of the piano is the sound wave is played backwards, and they're playing like electronic samples from Rachmaninoff orchestral pieces in like new creations, as well as things that are like theremin-esque. So the synths are providing a lot of really interesting soundscapes, even temple bells. Like there's some, it's a wild soundscape, and it kind of immerses your ear, which is part of the whole, I think that's part of how Molloy kind of leads us toward the idea of this piece being composed through use of hypnotherapy. So some of those synth sounds kind of create this like watery environment that the listener is in. And then all of a sudden out of that, like, you know, Rachmaninoff's Prelude will come charging through on 9-foot Steinway. So, it's cool.
It's a pretty big, I guess, you know, quote unquote, big cast. Yeah. I mean, is it like 6 actors and 5 musicians or something like that?
Yeah. Well, it's a cast of 5 plus 3. Depends on how it depends on how you frame the pianist. Is that orchestra or is that part of the cast? He's on stage the whole time. But I
think it's both, but
yeah.
You don't get to count him as 2 people.
Sure. Then we'll go with 7.
Okay. I thought it was larger than that. And maybe it's just because it feels larger.
It does.
Okay.
It does. It does in its intensity, but it's still a sizable show for us to produce.
Okay. Well, on that point, what drew you to this piece in the first place? Like what was it about?
Yeah, well, it was what I mentioned about the piece deals itself with what is the point of working creatively, what is the point of creativity in our lives, why make art to begin with,
okay,
and then also our relationship to the past. But then because the piece is so particularly demanding, like once Ruben agreed to play the role of Rachmaninoff and serve as music director, and then once Joe said he was up for tackling the role of Rach, those are both crazy hard commitments.
Okay.
So once they were interested in working together on this, then the rest of the piece began to fall into shape.
Okay, so it wasn't. So I don't like, you know, because sometimes when I read things, it comes pretty fast where I'm going, oh yeah,
Good.
you know, it's usually, for me, it's usually like one thing where I go, yeah, we're doing this one, you know, that type of thing. And then it's only when we get in process that I'm like, this is a little too big for me to manage.
Yeah. That almost never happens. For like almost all of the pieces that we work on are initiated by someone else. Like it's some other artist that we're talking with who says, I have an idea, or what if we did something like this? And then we pursue that most of the time. But I found preludes personally in my life while I was looking for something else. So I was on the internet and I was doing some other research, and then this linked, and then I was like, what is this preludes thing? And then I listened to the cast album, and I was pretty hooked. I was particularly hooked by so everybody knows Rachmaninoff's famous prelude he wrote when he was 19.
Do I though?
Yeah, you do. You for sure do. If you heard it, you for sure would. And one of the things that the creators of the Fantasia / musical did was create a monologue about Rachmaninoff writing the prelude that is perfectly coordinated with the musical geography of the prelude. So like Rubin plays the prelude exactly as written, and simultaneously Joe is telling us the story of writing that piece of music. And like whenever the music shifts, like if it becomes dreamy or if it becomes very intense or if it gets angry, then that part of the story of writing the prelude like synchronizes with the music. So it's something I had never heard anyone do before. And when I like heard it playing in the car, I was like, I adore that experiment, and I love the newness of that idea, and I love that I haven't encountered it in any other piece before. And that was the thing where it was like, this is valuable in a unique way. Like this can provide something that we can't get everywhere.
Yes. And I mean that's what I love about the work that you do, is that it is different and it is outside the norm, as it were, as what we think like opera would be. So what do you think of this piece in particular, for somebody who isn't familiar with opera, or for somebody who's like, screw opera, or those kinds of things?
That's most people.
There are people like that. What do you think would be something in this piece that they're gonna latch on to, no matter what? That is the universal sort of experience.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot as a cast. So can I answer in two parts?
Yes,
so
of course.
First part is there are only a couple times when the singer actors use what we might call an opera voice. It's predominantly sung in American musical theater style, like contemporary musical.
Awesome.
So you don't hear a lot of vibrato or a lot of like super high singing or those things that we associate with capital O opera.
Okay.
But one of the things that tilts this toward opera is its rootedness in classical music and kind of the art for art's sake music. So like, because we're dealing with these creators that are associated closely with opera. And so that's really interesting. And it's musically really complex, and it relies tremendously on the music to convey the story, right? Which is also something that we associate with opera. So those are some links. One of the things when I've been watching it, as I've been watching it evolve in tech, that I've been starting to lean on maybe a little bit more and more, that feels universal to me, is the fact that though we may not experience, writer's block, because we are not all, great composers who are about to write a piano concerto that takes the world by storm. We all experience moments when our minds undermine our best intentions.
Sure.
To varying degrees. When we've, especially as we've dealt with so much unexpected change over the last 2 years, right? And everything that we've been talking about in some of our small group meetings about stress and empathy, feeling alone, not being able to connect, right? Things that the pandemic has really exacerbated. The piece is centrally about a human being who can't get themselves together, right? Like they're being pulled apart by the seams by themselves.
Mm.
And so the piece is about resolving that internal struggle so that they can be their best self again. And I think that that is something that we do in different ways over and over again,
Oh yeah.
right? You know, sometimes on a daily basis, sometimes on a yearly basis, we fall apart and we figure out how to pull it back together. And in the kindness that there's also something that's really stark in who are the people around this character that are helping them grow and do their best work. And that's something else that I think you can immediately kind of ponder your own life and the people who are helping you through your own perilous times.
How long is your tech process?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Oh wow.
So 16 hours.
Bless you.
Yeah,
That
16 hours.
I don't know about you, but it feels like a hefty show to be doing in 16
Yeah,
hours.
it's a heavy lift and it's a really different process. Like after on Monday night, I thanked the cast for what I felt was the best orchestra read Sitzprobe tech dress rehearsal that I'd ever seen because we had just like we went from the rehearsal hall just straight into running the show with all of the technical elements.
Yes.
And so it's discombobulating, but then we try to stay on our toes and just immediately address whatever needs our attention the most.
Sure.
So, you know, like on the Tuesday, the cast was really strong, but the synths and Ruben had not had time to work together. And so we released the cast early and we just did like an orchestra rehearsal Tuesday night from 9 to 10. You know? And then we came back Wednesday, and Wednesday it was musically rock solid. And then we started to like take some more additional time to nurture lights along, you know. So it's like not necessarily scheduled ahead of time, but dealt with fluidly so that we make sure we're using those 16 hours as efficiently and effectively as we possibly can. Well, also taking care of the cast because it's a crazy taxing show.
Yeah.
So there's also like you're listening to their voices and you're watching their skin tone, you know, to see like how is your stamina, you know?
I'm familiar with this. I am
Yeah.
familiar with this. Uh
But then you're like, I'd really like to rehearse that 3 more times, but we're not going to because what we need more than rehearsal is rest.
it's
You know?
sleep.
Yeah.
Did you purposely sort of limit the hours? You know, that's something that we've been talking about with the Milwaukee Theater Alliance, and we put a lot of that into the standards of, and then the talk of like eliminating 10 out of 12s and stuff like that. Was that something that you consciously said?
Yeah.
People work day jobs, people have this, people have that, like we need to be as kind and forgiving in a lot of ways, and instead of doing the extra 3 times 3. Yeah.
Right. I think it's part of everything. So I don't believe that there's a perfect recipe.
Mm.
But in the 2 years, we definitely scrutinized, went through the whole budget as a moral document thing. You
Yep.
know, how is every line item reflective of our values, and where do we choose resources to flow? We increased artists' fees across the board. And we are very strict about not going over 20 hours a week of commitment when
Mm-mm.
we're in rehearsal, and we really try to schedule around conflicts too, to create a schedule that is still working in service of the production, but also being mindful of people's personal lives, and life outside of the theater. Because our goal, really, I guess, is because the product is very important to us, but primarily we want to function as part of a healthy community, and we
Yeah.
want the artists in our community to feel valued and fulfilled by the work that they're doing. And so that's why we tread that particular line.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because I do think I had that sort of come to Jesus moment myself a few years back of that you can't be the best artist that you want to be if you're not healthy. And that's mental health, that's physical health, like eating well and all those types of things. And then not overworking your artist.
It's a delicate dance because every couple years we send surveys to all the artists that work with us to ask for feedback on their experiences, and that has certainly helped us and made direct changes to the way that we produce things. But we always ask about the relationship between hours and pay, and inevitably people say, like, we would like to be paid more. Also,
Yeah.
we would like to be well rehearsed and rehearse more. And we're
Yeah.
like, okay, you see the problem
Yeah.
is trying to do both of those things at once. So how do we find the most best rehearsal time possible,
Yeah.
while also paying people the most that we possibly can?
Yeah.
Right? So, how do you balance those competing interests and maybe help them not compete with each other?
Yeah, I mean it's the one thing that I find myself constantly apologizing for, that I wish we could increase the
Yeah.
amount of money. And I've said it a million times, like I want to be able to pay artists a living wage when they're spending time with us, when they're working. I know that you are awesome at that. It's hard as just a burgeoning organization to make that happen. But it's part of the reason why a lot of us in the community are working so hard to, like, with Imagine MKE, to get more money for Milwaukee arts organizations, because predominantly the number one thing that people are talking about is that they want to get more money to the artists. They want to get, like, ask staff members something
Yeah.
like that. Like, I just need one more person doing something, that type of thing. So it is a very real thing. Like I said, I find myself, because it's embarrassing. I will say that for myself.
Oh, no, I think absolutely. It's incredibly hard. And one person's living wage is insufficient for someone else. So that's right. Like that can be challenging. But I think that's where our way through is to continue advocating for it, and can you continue to think about all the other ways that we can show appreciation for artists in our community until and while we work to increase fees and wages and staffing positions.
Absolutely. Yeah. So is there anything else people need to know about this thing? Or you want to just tell people
No,
tell
just
people where to go?
show
Tell them where to go, Jill.
up for the adventure.
Yeah.
PRELUDES opens tonight at 7:30 p.m. at the Women's Club of Wisconsin, 813 East Kilbourne Avenue. Tickets are available at the door and online at Milwaukee Opera Theater, theatre.org.
Yeah.
And we run through April 9th.
It's just the 2
Just
weekends.
the 2 weekends, and we've got a funky schedule. We have a Tuesday matinee, we have a Monday night, so something should work for your schedule.
Oh no, because Aurora. I was gonna say, like, I might be able to do the Tuesday matinee too, and no, Tuesdays are not my day.
No good, no good.
Also, you are looking for volunteer usher help, yes?
We do have some spaces for volunteer ushers.
Yeah.
If people would like to reach out.
So you can email your Danny Brilo person to make that happen. All the information.
We can do the contact on our website. That'll go right to Danny too.
Yeah. So awesome. Again, happy opening.
Thank you.
I'm so glad you finally made this a reality. That's awesome. I mean, that's resilience, that's tenacity, that's all of those things that you and a whole bunch of other people are doing. Like, we had this dream and we want to make it happen, and finally making it happen.
But even at 11:27 on opening night, there's still part of you that is, like, ready for it all to come crashing down, right? Like we've just been living this for so long that, you know,
yeah,
that if we actually get, yes, it will feel like a miracle to
it will feel like a
show
miracle today. Today it will feel like a miracle. Awesome. Well, yeah, good. Break legs to you and your talented people. But let's talk about a couple of other things that
There's
are
so
happening.
much.
Yes, since you thought you could stick around and talk about some other things that we have going on here. I mean, speaking of advocacy and all of those things, we at the Milwaukee Theater Alliance have this meet and greet coming up a week week from Monday. Yes, week from Monday. On everybody's day off and stuff like that. This is one of those things where we hope to talk to you about all the things that we're trying to do. Something else we've talked about is starting an individual artist membership so that we can be better advocates for individual artists in Milwaukee, moving beyond our initial start of working with companies and sort of company leadership. So it's really just an opportunity to just meet some people and talk to some people and talk to some members that are already in the Alliance and have some safe fun. At this point we're still pretty well masked and vaxxed minded, so because none of us can afford to get sick, and that's just the way it is. So until the numbers are like close to zero, we're all gonna be going, I don't need to see your face yet. So but you can go to the Milwaukee Theater Alliance. I was just thinking about the website. I'm like, I think I have to put that up somewhere. Anyway, and then I think
in my calendar right now. I wrote it down on my paper calendar, so I'm good to go.
And then I tried last week to put sort of all of this in the put the links in the comments below, and Facebook in particular said, "Oh no, you can't post that many comments," and rejected my thing. And I'm like, God, I hate you, platform. The Facebook can just. Anyway, there's a show closing tomorrow. It's called Babble by Jacqueline Goldfinger. It's put on by the Constructivists, a company I'm very familiar with as artistic director, and I directed the damn thing. People are really overwhelmingly excited about this show. Tomorrow is basically sold out. We did reserve some tickets for people at the door because I hate shutting people out like that. So there are a few tickets left at the door.
But you should go tonight.
What's that?
Everyone should go tonight.
So everyone should go tonight, and if you're really interested in trying to sneak in at the last minute, you should do that. But yeah, everybody's really excited about it. So we had a group of UWM students come on Wednesday for our industry night. I was so excited how excited they were. That is the kind of response that I live for. Like that's I mean, not only do I love dark comedy, but that's really the response that I want, of people getting excited about theater and just knowing different things. And like that's the reason why I love the work that you do, is because it's not necessarily what people think about theater, like what theater is. And I'm so game for outside the box.
And you have several alums in the cast, which is cool.
Alums of what are we doing? What?
You have a UWM graduates.
Yeah. It's a 4-person cast. Logan Milway and Maya Danks are returning artists from previous Constructivist productions, and then Ashley Oviedo and Nicole McCarty, who's worked at MOT, and then Ashley was just in Skylight's Little Shop of Horrors. both two artists who this isn't their traditional genre, and the
Right.
work that they've done. I mean, like, you would just expect that they've been doing this kind of, and I say that in quotation marks, kind of work for their whole existence. And so, I don't know. Jill Anna, you saw the show. What'd you think?
Well, that's exactly what I thought. I remember that I left with a feeling of gratitude for the opportunities you're providing for people to really hone their craft, and to really step into principal roles that demand a great deal of them. And I was thinking to myself, like, oh yeah, they're 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 going to move on to their next project with this whole other skill set now.
I hope so. Yeah. I too, this is the first time that I'm putting out a feedback form for our processes. Cause I mean, I've talked to people, but particularly when you have new artists coming in to your company, I find that it's helpful. Like, returning artists, they're already sold. Like they're already in it. So I'm interested on the feedback, because that is something that I'm interested in. I am 100% interested in offering opportunities to people who may not have the opportunities.
Mhm.
Largely don't really look at resumes. I'm really an audition based person, and the chemistry that is in the room that's created right there, because I'm staunchly opposed to the old system, and which relies a lot on money and classism and things like that. And so there's a lot of people out there who haven't had access to opportunity because they haven't had access to training. They haven't, like those
Yeah.
types of things. So I'm really grateful for anybody who is game to work with us and work in this type of art form, because it can be a challenge, and we don't have any money. And so people are doing it because they love it and they want the opportunity, not necessarily any other reason. Yeah. So yeah, so come and see the show tonight, because you probably can't tomorrow.
I wish I could see it again. I would in a heartbeat.
Theconstructivist.org if you want to check that out. Then we have actually over at Renaissance Theater Works is closing tomorrow. So also one of those things, like, you better get your ticket like right now to make it happen. Well, a lot of people like to wait till the last minute. I'm also not the best at getting into things before then, because everybody's just super busy and whatnot. But I encourage you to, if you were looking to watch this, and you should, because everybody should go and see more theater. It's definitely a show for the Me Too age. It's a couple of college students who find themselves in trouble because of being overworked and maybe partying a little too much and all those types of things. And so you can go to r-t-w.com to maybe get your tickets at the last minute here. Yeah?
Yeah.
Did you get over to there to see that one?
I have not seen it.
I know.
I love Renaissance. They're one of my favorite companies.
Just a great group of people.
Yeah, I missed it because of gosh darn Preludes.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's the inherent conundrum that we deal with. Although I did decide that if I can't make a show, I'm gonna donate.
Yeah.
Like, if I can't buy a ticket and be there, the least I can do is help in another way, even if it's only $5 or whatever it is. Like, everybody knows when you're 49th in state funding, any bit helps, So then next we have Capita Productions. They have an ongoing virtual program happening, which is great for your school or educational group or community group. Capita stands for City at Peace in the Arts, and they use community theater as a tool to foster multicultural awareness and racial harmony. Relene Artist, who's one of their, I think she's a board member over there. Just a wonderful, wonderful person, and is involved in our small arts group meetings, and is really an advocate for this group. Beautiful singing voices over there.
Yeah.
If you're interested in learning more about them, go to capitaproductions.com. Next, we have Cooperative Performance. When Alan Petrovich, who's on a few weeks back, is one of the hardest working people in the biz.
Right. Yeah.
Just is a board member over there. A lot of board members running around being really huge advocates for their organizations. They've got a couple of things happening. One universe is going to open next week, Friday. That is a devised piece from what is her name, Sarah Moore, and it's a collage of storytelling and comedy and scientific help. They say music, poetry, and reflecting on birth and death cycles of our planet and species. Sounds very Marvel to me, and you can go to cooperativeperformance.org for that. They also just added 2 performances of their Red Rabbit by Nassim, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name because only Alan knows how to pronounce it the correct way, so I will not do it. But Maggie Marks is doing it tonight, and then Susan is, they're both tonight. So, Maggie Marks is at 8 p.m. and then Susan, speaking of Renaissance Theater Works, is going on at 10:15. This is a really interesting concept. It's a one-person show. They don't know the script. It's completely spontaneous. There's no director. There's no process. There's no anything. Did you get to get over there and see any of these things?
I haven't seen it yet, but Joel Kapishke did it. Joel
Yes.
is in Preludes, and he performed White Rabbit, Red Rabbit at Sunstone Studios just before the rehearsals began.
Yeah.
Talked a lot about what an experience it was.
Yeah. And these added shows are also at Sunstone. He was on with Alan talking about this a few weeks back. So again, you can go and check out past You've Got a Thing episodes, which is completely valuable in that you can learn more about companies that you possibly have no idea anything about. And that's what we're here for. So again, you can go to cooperativeperformance.com for that. I think you can also go for White Rabbit, Red Rabbit to the Sunstone website, which is Sunstone Studios, MKE.com for that. Next week, also, we will see the opening of Raisin from Skylight Music Theatre. It's a musical based on Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry. I know Michael Unger is completely excited about finally bringing this, and it won the Tony Award in 1974 and has a lot of great artists involved. Marvin Hanna, who's one of my favoriteest people and is involved with MTA stuff, is in that. I think Marvin is another case of where he really wasn't a performer up until about 3-4 years ago, but has a beautiful voice, and now he's famous.
Yeah, I think Gospel at Colonus might have been one of the first pieces that I got to see him in.
Yeah,
he's divine.
Yeah, just a wonderful, great, amazing human being. Imagine MKE. Always got to thank them for giving us the platform to do this program, but they are doing so much work for us and all arts organizations in Milwaukee that you need to check them out. They can help you be a better arts advocate, which I think we all need to do that, and particularly patrons of the arts. It really would behoove you to talk to your Congress people and talk to your local reps about arts and arts funding. because we need it. And there are companies that have closed and venues that have closed over the course of the pandemic because they couldn't survive. There are a lot of artists who backed away and left the business and all of that. And a lot of that has to do with, again, what we were talking about is lack of pay. And if we could get more funding from our state, which arts are a public good. There's so much statistics. You can read any study on the arts about how it benefits you as a human being, So Imagine makes it really easy for people to advocate. I know that I think they're holding an extra couple Zoom calls where you can talk with David Lee, who's the CEO over there, about how to talk to your reps. So go to imaginemke.org/act and find all the utilities over there, because the big thing is that they're asking the city of Milwaukee, or is it Milwaukee County, to bump their funding to 2% for arts and culture, because it's at, do you know the statistic on it? It's like 0.0 something percent. I also forgot to write it down this time. It's appalling and abysmal in all of those types of words that you can possibly use, that we can't even get 2% of the budget. Like I don't even. And this in particular is for the American Rescue Plan Act. I mean, that's federal. That's federal funding for local arts because of COVID. I mean, come on, people. Help me out here. Go and talk to your reps. Let Imagine help you out with that. Just want to point out some monthly awareness things right now. It's National Deaf History Month. I don't know if anybody else saw this, but the Oscars were this past weekend, and there was a huge fiasco about something I'm not even going to talk about. One of the best moments of the Oscars this past weekend was Troy Katzer, who is only the second deaf actor after Marley Matlin, like back in 1980 something or other, to win an Oscar. He won Best Supporting Actor for CODA, which is Children of Deaf Adults. That's what that stands for. I watched it the other day. It's a really good movie, and I would check it out if I were you. But I like the minute that he stood up when they announced his name, like I could not I'm still like super emotional about it, because my daughter's hearing impaired, and so there's a personal connection there. But I love just progress. I love progress things, and this felt like legitimate progress to me, and just his thank yous and whatnot. You can go and YouTube the crap out of that and check it out. But it's just to raise awareness, obviously, of deaf persons. You can check out the National Association of the Deaf at nad.org, and they can help you out a little bit over there. I would love to learn sign language. I would also love to learn Polish for my husband. And you know what? I just at 43 do not have that headspace, and that's just how life is. Yeah. It's also the National Arab American Heritage Month. I would go and check out ArabAmericanFoundation.org. Again, it's just a way to celebrate Arab American heritage in the United States of America, and that I just wanted to let people know that, because they're just things that we should know, and really appreciate diversity and inclusion and those types of things that we're working really hard on at the MTA as well. And then lastly, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, because it happens, period, but it happens more than anybody would ever want to. So please be aware that sexual assault is still happening, and it's, you know, it's not only in person, it's also over the internet. And
Mhm.
and you can check out nsvrc.org, which is the National Sexual Assault Hotline, or National Sexual, oh, I can't do this. Anyway, there's a hotline that is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can check that out. This is also something that is included in the Milwaukee Theater Standards of helping to avert behavior like this. We have a form on our website, which is an anonymous intake form that you can report any behavior that you've experienced in the community, and that goes directly to the Theater Alliance. So it's things that we can talk about and handle in the best way possible. And so, yeah, that's where we're at. A ton of stuff that we had, and on top of your thing. So,
Progress.
oh man, we need it.
Yeah, we do.
It's about time. It just is. I mean, it's 2022, for God's sakes. You know,
See art, be good people.
see art, be good people. That's what we got. So I don't know. Come to the MTA meet and greet. Come and I'll be there. I think I have to be.
You do. Yeah.
I think I have to be. And then I'm gonna come to Preludes next week Friday, I think. So if you want to join me over there, I'm gonna usher the crap out of that thing. I'm gonna
Go and ask Jamie Lynn to get you just the right seat, and then complain about something.
Yes.
Too hot, or it's too cold.
Yes. And I am always game to tell people where to go. I am on top of that shit, 100%. I don't know. Is there anything else you got, Jill Anna?
No, I have to start panicking about opening night.
No, don't do it. I mean, you all are awesome over there, and the art that you make is so cool. So if you don't know that opera can be cool, you need to go to MOT and check it out. How many seats you got over there?
Well, it it depends.
Okay.
I think we could go up to 125.
Wow. Oh, it's a big room.
It is a big room.
Huge room. How are the acoustics in there?
Our goal is like, so this is an interesting question. Our goal is 75.
Okay.
Also because we have not run a box office since October of 2019. Right? So like even just going through that, you know, I was like, does this credit card reader still work?
Does it?
Yes.
Okay.
But also like there is still a pandemic. I'm not quite ready for packed houses or standing room only kind of situations. I very happy with 50 to 75 people enjoying a fantasia / musical.
Yeah, and that's a big room. I absolutely in the studio of the Broadway Theater Center limited our seats as well, because I'm just not ready. Just not ready. Maybe next season. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for even on your opening, for making time for us here. And I don't know. I'll see you
for having me
next Friday. And all of you out there who stick around for us, thank you so much. Or if you're watching later, join us live sometime. We're always here to answer your questions live and things like that. And hopefully one day we can be in person. I'm really game to do this broadcast from the Sunstone Studios window and be like, you know, NPR with like the headphones and the microphone and talking about sweaty balls and
talking our soft voices. Yeah. That'll be fun.
I think next week we have on Jonathan Hetler, who is a new dude over at the Milwaukee Rep. He was a directing intern BC before COVID, and now they've brought him back to be an associate producer, and and get a little bit involved in casting. And so he's going to be back to talk about the non-equity generals are back for the Milwaukee rep. And they're going to be doing some of that in person, some of that online. And so he's going to come and talk about that. And then I'm going to try and convince him to convince other people to join the Alliance and get some
all right.
Get some people in here to help the little guys, to give some good advice and things like that about, I don't know, they've been doing their shit for a long time. Like you don't hang around for 60 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, I mean, so many theater companies come and go, but some of that is just like organizational. You know what I'm saying? And so
yeah,
it'd be great to have them on board. So we're going to talk about that kind of stuff. So
I can't wait.
All of you out there, come back next week, and we'll see you then on You've Got a Thing.